Chapter 14 Angry Part 3. Not long after, Theo and Irene's duel came to an end. Naturally, Theo was the one who lost. Theo clutched his thighs, gasping for breath and struggling to support his nearly collapsing body. "I'm so weak." Just 10 minutes ago, he had thought he could put up a fight, but it turned out to be nothing more than a delusion. His practice sword hadn't even grazed Irene's clothes. What was even more disheartening was that she had only been defending against him. Huff, huff. Irene probably hadn't even used 10% of her true skill. Stats and traits were important, but they weren't everything. Irene's swordsmanship was truly exceptional. She didn't possess the explosive force of someone like Noctur with his axe, yet she effortlessly blocked all of his desperate attacks. He was experiencing what an insurmountable wall felt like. Irene covertly glanced at Theo. He was completely drenched in sweat, hunched over, trying to catch his breath. His training outfit clung to his body, soaked in perspiration. His lean and well-defined physique was clearly on display. Ugh. Feeling her face grow warm, Irene instinctively looked away, directing her gaze towards the ground. But, aside from his naivety, he's quite impressive. Though she didn't show it outwardly, Irene was genuinely surprised. Theo exceeded her expectations in terms of strength. If someone were to name the two most crucial factors in close combat, physical prowess and skill would likely be their choices. Theo possessed exceptional physical strength. The impact when their practice swords collided should not be underestimated. With that level of strength, he would undoubtedly rank among the top in the knight department. Even in the hero department, filled with prodigies, he could hold his own. He possesses remarkable momentum and knows how to utilize a few skills. Though his techniques were crude, he had a grasp on their application. Irene hailed from the ancient line of knights known as the Aslan family. She had grown up observing and learning from renowned knights since childhood. While there might be individuals stronger than her at Elinia Academy, Irene was confident that when it came to swordsmanship, she would not be surpassed by anyone. She held the top position in her grade, excelling not only in practical skills but also in theory. This allowed her to quickly identify Theo's shortcomings. What he needs now is to enhance his proficiency in the few skills he can use, even if they are crude. Improving in this aspect will skyrocket his abilities. Increasing the number of skills will come later. Theo is not a genius. He must start with what he can do and focus on the basics. With her thoughts sorted out, Irene spoke up. "I'll be straightforward with you. Go ahead. Honestly, you've exceeded my expectations. Your physique is nearly perfect. What you need now is to learn and train in skills. It would be wise to master the skills you can currently utilize." She rarely praised others. Theo was aware of this. Her words were high praise. Is that so? However, Theo seemed unsatisfied. Irene was taken aback. She had anticipated he would be pleased. Could it be? Was he not satisfied? "You don't appear content. But compared to your past self, you've made tremendous progress. In such a short period of time, no one has developed as much as you have. You can take pride in that." Words of praise poured from Irene's lips. Yet, Theo still wore a dissatisfied expression. What could it be? Curiosity swelled within Irene. Theo had completely transformed from his previous self. His performance in the first semester evaluation was like that of a different person altogether, despite having the same appearance. Such growth cannot be achieved in a mere month or two. It requires consistent effort over several years at the very least. Irene's mind raced. But during the last evaluation, he fled for an idiotic reason. And I haven't heard anything about his training either. Could it be that he has been feigning foolishness and incompetence all this time? As Irene contemplated this possibility, a wave of dizziness washed over her. The body doesn't lie. His physical capabilities were genuine. Why? What could be the reason? No clear answer came to mind as to why he had done it. In a way, she felt sorry for him. How long had he worked in solitude, without anyone knowing? What could be the motive behind his need to act, despite facing criticism and scorn from everyone? Irene found the limits of her imagination. Could it be related to that incident 7 months ago? The incident that had extinguished any remaining feelings she had harbored for him. No matter how hard she thought, she couldn't fathom it. Recalling that incident, disgust swelled within her heart. Irene's composed countenance became tainted with a look of revulsion. At that very moment. "I want to win." Theo's words shattered Irene's contemplation. Irene gazed at Theo, her expression one of surprise.
It was an unexpected, pure response.
With blurred eyes, Theo looked at Irene and spoke slowly.
"Help me." Irene paused.
The resonance of his words, "help me," was too compelling.
It was enough to dispel the disgust that had momentarily clouded her face.
That resonance stirred her heart. But her mind held back her heart.
Theo, he was unforgivable. Why should I?
Irene uttered the harshest words she could muster in that moment. Then she looked at Theo. He, with his head bowed, bore a complex look in his eyes. The look of an injured and sorrowful but proud cat.
Ah.
She clenched her teeth tightly, hypnotizing herself. I mustn't fall for it. Such a gaze was deceptive. Under normal circumstances, she would have let it go, but in her current state of confusion, she was vulnerable.
Then, Theo looked at her once more and spoke. Irene. Why?
Meeting his gaze barely, Irene continued to hypnotize herself. I mustn't fall for it.
But the only thing I have left is you. Help me.
Her self-hypnosis shattered in an instant. After receiving corrections in swordsmanship from Irene and observing a few more technique demonstrations, I dined alone at a nearby restaurant. I had invited Irene to join me, but she declined, stating that she wasn't feeling well.
Throughout the entire demonstration, her face was flushed, and she appeared embarrassed, truly unwell.
Sigh. I hope she isn't sick. Without her, I have no one to learn from.
That being said, I faced a reality I wanted to avoid. I have no talent. None whatsoever.
I couldn't comprehend any of the techniques Irene taught me. Though these were techniques I had witnessed dozens of times in the original game, when I attempted to execute them in reality, I couldn't grasp them at all. When I observed them, I thought, so that's how it is, but when I had to perform them myself, I struggled.
That's exactly how it feels. I returned to my room and immediately opened the shop window after washing up. I should avoid actions that rely on probability.
But this is the only way to significantly increase my chances of winning on Friday.
Ugh, what a waste.
I purchased the Observer's Eye.
Purchase completed. Remaining currency, 1 gold coin in the shop, 10 silver coins in the shop.
Just like when I bought Magic Nullification, nothing occurred except for the appearance of the message window.
I felt deflated. I lay flat on the bed.
Even though it was early to sleep, as soon as I lay down, drowsiness enveloped me. Irene said she would assist me again tomorrow.
I will capture every moment of hers with my own eyes. I will ask her to demonstrate all the techniques she can employ. I fell asleep immediately.
4 days later, Friday morning at 7 o'clock. In the mock training ground exclusive to the Hero Department. I occupied one of the numerous attached rooms, engaged in practice. As expected of the Hero Department, the room was remarkably spacious.
And before me stood a humanoid magical doll.
A magical doll bearing a physique akin to Ralph's, holding a two-handed club. The training ground of the Hero Department facilitated diverse mock exercises, including magical combat and melee combat. It was an unimaginable display of advanced technology in this world bereft of firearms. It had been created by Ryok, the first principal, and his friend Odious, the last Ninth Circle mage on the continent. The setup is complete. Please respond with yes when you are ready. The magical voice resonated. Yes. Then, the magical doll began to move. Though it was a doll, its movements closely resembled that of a human. Moreover, it was possible to set rough stats, so I configured them to match Ralph's. There were clear limitations, as personal traits and skills couldn't be applied, and it lacked emotions, but it was more than sufficient. Once again, I realized the extent of magic's advantages in this world, and come at me, I whispered to the magical doll. Tap tap tap. As if understanding my words, the magical doll charged at me. After approximately 2 hours of mock training, I washed off the sweat from my body in the shower room attached to the training ground. Naturally, I had brought cosmetics and cologne as well. I was nervous. Despite being as prepared as possible, I couldn't shake off the nerves. From Tuesday until now. After the academy lectures concluded, I received guidance from Irene and woke up early in the morning for solo training. Though it was merely a magic doll and not a real person, the techniques I learned from Irene proved effective. The duel would last a maximum of 5 minutes. Since my duel was 39th, it wouldn't begin until after lunchtime at the earliest. Even though I wanted to train more, observing the techniques of other students in advance would also be of great help. I will win. I muttered softly to myself, patting my chest, then made my way toward the classroom. Chapter ends.